Hey, it's Lakeisha. Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we are going to a project that I did a while back. I think 2021, 2022, not totally sure. It was a fun project though. It was really simple, and so I wanted to share it. We did this at my mom's house, we being myself, my mom, and my sister, and we did it in her dining room. So we wanted to do a really cool accent wall. It's in her dining room space, and she'd already painted it a very moody, smooth color, but it's an open concept space. She wanted to jazz it up a little bit, but nothing too bold because she would get tired of it in a few months. So we did consider doing a treatment to smooth it all out, but since the wall was already painted, it seemed silly to do all of that and have to repaint it all over again. That's like an extra time, money, materials. Didn't make a lot of sense. So we just decided to leave it as it is. Side note, if I was starting from scratch, I would for sure take the time to smooth out the wall with joint compound to get a nice, smooth, even texture and remove all of that orange peel. You can even use wood glue. That could work. Again, optional. In our case, with this project, the wall was already the final color. So we made the decision to just leave it as is and work with the mild orange peel texture. Even though it wasn't ideal, it was okay. And we just applied the accent feature right on top. So we used the 1x2 pine boards for this project. We created a rough sketch, literally super rough because I'm not like the drawing, rough. Just to get an idea of what the boards would look like. We measured the walls, to have an idea for the scale, and then drew the boards out. We did not want it to look like a classroom chalkboard. We wanted to kind of have an abstract feel, so not a very specific or distinct pattern, but again, nothing too squarish or blockish either. We just want to play it by ear or by eye. Okay, so the supplies and tools that we use. 1x2s, brad nail gun, miter saw, paintbrush. You might want to use, painter's tape. You might want to use painter's tape just to mark off your ends so that you're not painting on anything, especially if you have to paint the entire wall, just so you're not getting it on your ceilings or the outside of your accent wall area. Construction adhesive, totally optional. If you think this is something you're going to want to take down soon, I would skip the construction adhesive. And that's because that's like you can get actual construction adhesive, liquid nails, anything like that. That's gonna stick. That stuff is not going anywhere. And so when you want to remove it, it's going to be messy and gross and take off whatever's on the wall. If for some reason you've got tricky walls, then definitely use the adhesive as well. So using the sketch as like a basic guideline, we just started kind of cutting the pieces to size and putting them up along the wall. Once we kind of got like a shape or an angle that we liked, I basically used the miter saw to cut at a 45-degree angle. Okay, so if you are not super mathy, 45-degree angle, just think of like a right angle or an L and then cut that in half. That's your 45-degree angle. And basically the reason why you want to do that is so that when you line the boards up, they kind of join together just perfectly. And that just allows them to butt up against each other. So they're not like, basically at a 45-degree angle, the pieces of wood can lock in together at a nice angle versus if they are, hold on, I'll be right back.
A few minutes later.
Okay, I'm back. 1x2s. What we did was once we found, and this is not a 1x2, but it is cut at a 45-degree angle. So if you look at it, you see how it kind of cuts that right down the middle? That's at a 45-degree angle. So what happens is when you put the pieces up against another piece or a wall, it makes it flush. So that's what we did. We kind of put them together like a puzzle piece. That's basically kind of how we joined it until it looked good to the eye. And one thing I would caution is as you're kind of putting them together, having obviously more than one person, one of the things is having someone hold it up and another one of you guys stepping back and looking at it. Because as you're putting it up and you're up close, you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then as we step back, we're like, oh no. And it really did. It would look like a chalkboard. It would look like a bunch of squares or triangles. And it was like a Rubik's Cube. Like it was not it. Kind of putting pieces there is taking a step back, looking, making sure as it started to look like it fit, we would just put 1 or 2 nails in from the nail gun, the brad nailer, and step back, make sure that we liked it. And then as we put the pieces in, it slowly starts to come together kind of like a puzzle piece. Then once we had a pattern that we liked, we would dab literally just a couple of drops of the construction adhesive just to kind of hold it in so it's not just the nails. Don't do a whole like, you know how you watch these like HGTVs where they're like
slapping on the liquid nails with the construction adhesive?
I highly recommend not. Again, unless you know it's gonna stay on there forever, don't do it. And then you attach them. From there, once everything's done, then we basically went in with the caulk, awkward, going with the caulk, and we dabbed all of the holes from the pinholes from the nail gun, as well as all the seams where the wood butts up, the joints where the wood meets. So again, using my trusty samples here. So like when you have the wood meeting up, technically it would meet kind of like this. You would have these little seams here. And we would just put a dab of caulking or wood filler to cover up the seam. And any other areas that just kind of look like there was a gap. Because you know, wood is imperfect. And so there's going to be some bending and some curves. So anytime there was like a gap or something where it was kind of not perfectly flush, we just cover it with either caulk or the wood filler. Then once that dried, we'd sand down everything, get it nice and smooth. And then from there, it was just a matter of priming the wood and painting. Or if your paint has paint with primer, you go ahead and do that. And then boom, it's done. And again, if your wall is not already painted, ours was, then you would obviously paint your wall. It was done. It was exciting. We had such a good time. Again, I know this wasn't a step-by-step process, but it's really actually not that involved. But we had a really good time.